Yeah. Okay, let's jump to the defense as far as the roster. They went 6 linebackers:
Oh
Fred
Lord.
Warner, Dre Greenlaw, Orrin Burks, Demetrius Flanagan Fowles, D. Winters, Jalen Graham. My man, Marcelino, McCrary Ball, is on the outside looking in, Raj.
I
What's the
would.
deal there? I mean, Marcelino, I hope doesn't get plucked. He had an incredible camp, man.
Yeah.
Every time I looked up, he was making plays.
I know. You and me both, Larry.
How do you cut him?
I was so surprised, but I think again, a lot of this roster to me is roster politics because Oren Burks, special teamer, they love him for that. He is like the captain of special teams. Him and George Odom, and then the other guy that they kept over Marcelino. I had a feeling they were going to do this the other night when I was doing my roster prediction. I said it's going to come down to Demetrius Flanagan Fowles and one of these younger guys, most likely Marcelino. And I said they're going to pick DFF. If it's up to me, I'm taking Marcelino, but again, DFF is that special teams guy, and he's best friends with Fred Warner and Dre Greenlaw. They train together in the offseason. They all have
And
the same
he
trainer.
did play well in the preseason, Raj.
He was
DFF had a
okay.
sack. He had a sack in that last game. He's
He
playing
did.
fast. He knows the defense.
He knows the
I
defense.
got no problem with DFF, but I just wanted them to choose one
Yeah.
between DFF and Burks, trade
Burks.
the other, and
Trade
go with
him.
Marcelino.
I said that too. I said they should have at least traded one of these linebackers because they have a wealth of linebackers. I don't want to see Marcelino get plucked because he's going to be good wherever he goes.
Oh, I know. It's going to
Yeah.
be really good. It's going
Yeah.
to be really good. All right, let's go to the safety spot. To me, this is exactly the way I had it penned out on the first day of camp.
Yeah.
Hufanga and Gibson as the starters, Odom and Jair Brown as the backups. Taylor Hawkins had a great camp, but he broke his hand,
Yeah.
so he's on IR. Otherwise, he could have made a run here. But Odom's awesome on special teams, great guy.
Yeah.
Jair Brown is looks like the future. Gibson is your starting strong free safety, and he really knows how to play that deep middle. He's got great hands for the pick. Afanga is your star back there. That was pretty much a no brainer, and they didn't go 5; they went with 4.
Yeah. Honestly, this was probably the easiest layup of all the positions. I had the same thing. I said this is going to be the safeties from day one. I didn't have any other. I didn't have nothing else to say. Safety was easy money. Yeah.
Let's jump to corner. They went with 5. I would have gone with 6. I
Mm.
would have taken a roster spot from somewhere else and gone with 6, and I would have had Deshaun Jameson. But they went Mooney Ward, Demo Lenore, Isaiah Oliver, Ambry Thomas, Samuel Womack.
Mm.
I'll say this: I like the 5 guys they have, but I wanted Deshaun Jameson, and I don't think Jameson's going to make it to the practice squad. I'd almost guarantee that somebody's going to pick him up. He's just, when you can play corner in the NFL, word gets out, and
Yeah.
I just think word's going to get out. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he'll slide through to the practice squad. He was undrafted, but to me, I definitely wanted Deshaun Jameson, and I definitely wanted Quantrez Knight over. I would have gone
Mm.
instead of going with 5, I would have gone with 6, and I would have gone with Jameson and Quantrez, and I would have cut Isaiah Oliver. But Oliver was one of their big free agent signings,
Yeah.
and I just think that the biggest mistake they made in this offseason was not re-signing Jimmy Ward.
I agree.
Jimmy Ward is so much better than Isaiah Oliver. He's more physical. He's a better cover guy, I think. He's a better hitter. He's more versatile. He's a tone-setting hitter. To me, they should have just ponied up for Jimmy Ward. Instead, they went with Oliver, and then they wound up cutting Quantrez. Quantrez outplayed Oliver.
Uh-huh.
And Deshaun Jameson, I thought, outplayed both.
Yeah.
And to me, those 2 guys should have been on here. Instead, they went with Oliver. I mean, Oliver's not a nightmare, but he's not as good as Quantrez, in my opinion.
I don't know about the not nightmare because I've had some nightmares about Isaiah Oliver, Larry. I don't know
He's
about
had a
that
rough
kid.
summer.
Yeah, he's had a rough summer, and even they were so gung ho on this guy. Wilkes said he's the guy, he's the starter, best cornerback in the market, this and that, and then he changes his tune, saying, "Oh well, we're gonna have to, rotate the nickel spot," and that's concerning to me. I would have walked away from Oliver, but I get it. You're paying him what 2.5 million guaranteed. I like Quantrez Knight, man. I feel like he got done dirty. That guy was a hitter, man. The guy was playing so good. He had such a good preseason. I hope he comes back and gets, back on the practice squad. But I could see him getting snatched. And Deshaun Jameson, same thing, man. This guy was undrafted. I feel like he had such a good preseason. I think they should have rewarded him. But again, you spend all this cash on Oliver, and now it kind of comes back. You have to kind of see it through because you don't want to waste that. You've already taken a couple L's. You got to hold on to this one and see it through. It's unfortunate. I was surprised they kept Ambry Thomas, although the coaches really raved about him. I really was surprised to see Ambry Thomas to make it on this roster. I hope he does well. I hope he can reach his potential. The other three guys, Mooney, Ward, Lenore, Womack, that was locks. They were great picks. I agree with you on the Jimmy Ward. I wish they would have kept him, but he didn't want to play nickel. He didn't want to. He wanted the safety money.
It got personal. It got personal.
It did.
That was another one, man. I mean,
yeah.
Kiss and freaking make up. That guy's a tone-setting player, man. He was one of the best players on the whole damn team, and they let him walk away for nothing.
He was a captain. He was a captain.
He was a captain. Not only that, I mean, football's a rough sport. You got to have some guys who, I mean, I personally, if you said to me, how did the Niners beat Dallas? They beat Dallas because Jimmy Ward took out Tony Pollard.
Yeah.
If Jimmy Ward doesn't take out Tony Pollard, Dallas may have won that game. Absolutely. I mean, to me, they lacked respect for Jimmy Ward. I mean, Jimmy Ward they should have respected what he was and what he brought and his place in that locker room, and they didn't. And now they've got a far softer player in Oliver. And Oliver's tall, so what? He's not physical. He doesn't hit. He's not a great cover guy. To me, he's, I've heard Wilkes describe, he can defend the bigger slot receivers. I'll take my chances with Lenore all day, every day over Oliver.
Because here's the thing.
To me, your best three corners are Mooney, Womack, and Lenore. Put them out there. And they are going to wind up putting him out there. Oliver's going to wind up being cut or riding the bench most of the year. That's my guess.
And here's the thing, because if Oliver is your slot, you're telling me he's a slot, and he's so good to play these slot cornerbacks. The first two names that jumped to my mind of the 49ers in the NFC West, they got Tyler Lockett and Cooper Kupp. Are you kidding me? Isaiah Oliver, to match up with those two guys, he's going to get eaten alive in the slot from those guys. So, again,
they're going to turn him into a pretzel.
They really are a pretzel.
They are. He's going to be turned around and twisted around. Those guys are going to be – it just reeks of broken plays and quick sixes. Isaiah Oliver, his lack of effort in that preseason opener against the Raiders on the Keelan Cole over route, where he's trailing the whole thing from behind. It's like, I mean, what happened? The way he played that, you would have swore he tore his hamstring off the bone. No. Instead, he's just like, he just lacked urgency. Didn't want to close on it. I mean, come on. Who doesn't close? Who gets burned by 3 steps and then with the ball in the air doesn't make up a step? He didn't, he didn't even make up one step. He just trailed that. It was just pitch and catch, really easy. And to me, I've watched every practice. I haven't seen him make more than one impressive play all year, all summer. He drops picks. Pathetic. He's not that physical. He's not a hitter. So, I mean, he's a tall, rangy slot corner. But, man, I don't know. To me, I'm not an Oliver fan. He seems like a nice guy, but to me, your best three are Womack, Lenore, and Mooney. Yeah. All right, let's get to the most controversial part of today's cutdown, and that we've saved the best for last year. The defensive line. Last year they went with 10. This year there's no Bosa right now. So right now you have Drake Jackson and Cleveland Farrell, Eric Armstead and Javon Hargrave. Those are your ones. That's 4. The only other guys they have are Kalia Davis, defensive tackle, Javon Kinlaw, defensive tackle, Kevin Givens, defensive tackle. So that's 7. So right now they have 5 defensive tackles, and Armstead and Hargrave are their starters. And they only have 3 defensive ends.
Oh, Robert Beal.
Farrell, Jackson, and Robert Beal. Yeah. Beal hasn't practiced more than 4 or 5 times all summer. Mm-hmm. He wasn't practicing yesterday. Yeah. And he makes the roster?
Crazy. And Kalia Davis, he didn't do much this offseason also because he was recovering from his ACL. I feel like those two guys, they didn't want to cut him because they thought they'd get
because they're
claimed.
draft
But
picks.
yeah, but you're absolutely right. Um, you have Kerry Hyder and Austin Bryant, who you cut. I know you're saying you're bringing them back, but right now this defensive line to me lacks edge depth. And me and you talked about this all off season, Larry. Edge depth was something I'm a little worried about. And I know Nick Bosa still hasn't been signed, so. Whew.
First of all, you took Kinlaw over T.Y. McGill and Marlon Davidson, two guys that badly outplayed him.
Yeah.
Badly outplayed him. So that sends a weird message. Kalia Davis wasn't even on the field most of the summer, but he's good enough to beat out T.Y. McGill and Marlon Davidson. Now, I like Kalia Davis, and I thought he did some really good things in this game against the Chargers, and he definitely has movement ability. You know, I've been touting Kalia as special for, over a year now. So everybody knows how I feel about him as far as his talent. He's 320 pounds and he's fast. So I like him in a one gap penetrating scheme. I like him. But to me, watching the 49ers run D, I mean, they have 5 defensive tackles, 3 defensive ends, and yet I don't know that they have a plugger in the middle. Like Armstead is their best against the run. The last 2 games against the 49ers in the preseason, the Chargers and Broncos ran for 6.5 yards a carry. So the Niners, I mean, Kinlaw, looks good, and he has some plays when he's fresh, and I guess he's improved. But man, he didn't make any real tackles. He doesn't sack the quarterback. We know that. He's got 1.5 sacks in his entire career. So he's not a pass rusher. And he doesn't really anchor inside against the run. And he played a lot of snaps the last couple of games when the other teams were running it right through the A-gap with, consistency. So I don't see what Kinlaw is getting done out there. He looks good in the uniform, but he doesn't get a lot done. And then Beal had an amazing rep in practice this summer where he beat Trent Williams with a speed rush. And it was breathtaking. It was like, oh, my God, look at that. He dipped the shoulder. He flattened to the quarterback. He was sitting in Brock Purdy's lap in 2 steps, and he did it against Trent. And I think everybody went, whoa. But then he didn't play the rest of the summer. I mean, literally has not played for weeks with a hamstring. Yeah. So I was thinking they were going to go 10 deep on the defensive line. They're 8 deep, with Robert Beal being one of the 8, right? Yeah.
And I don't think he'll even play if he suits up, because you're right. He hasn't even done much. And
they're Kinlaw, 7 deep on the defensive line, and they like to play their defensive line in a rotation. Yeah. So, I mean, I got to think that a couple of these spots where guys are hurt, Danny Gray and Ray McLeod, who's the other guy that we said has an injury?